Hello, darling. It's nice to see you again, and thanks for joining me for today's video. As you know, when someone asks me a question about something, I'll make a video about it using my knowledge and my experience so they and others can gain some insight, and hopefully they'll be able to find something helpful for them in some way. And in the comment section on my last video, I received a comment from one of my viewers asking me about tips for someone who's new to van life. So I thought I should make a video about this, and I just have made a video about it. And when I was making that video, I was using my new microphone, hoping that would make a big difference with my videos and hoping that would improve my videos. However, my subscribers and viewers have let me know that there's no sound, so the microphone doesn't work. So, unfortunately, I'm now remaking this video, and I'm going to have to get another microphone, but I definitely won't be buying one of those wireless microphones again. I mean, I can't believe I wasted $20 on a microphone that doesn't work, but oh well, what do you do? So this is the same video that I've just made and uploaded to my channel with the same title, Tips for Someone Who's New to Van Life. So this time I'm remaking the video, but without the mic, and hopefully all will go well this time. Okay, so there are many people who are starting van life right now who would like to know a lot more about van life, and people start van life for all different kinds of reasons. Like, for example, someone may start van life because they want to travel and experience adventures, while someone else may start van life because they're moving into their vehicle because they're being evicted, or there's no affordable housing available. So whatever the reason why you're starting van life, you want to know a little bit about van life first. And I remember when I first started van life, I didn't know much about it, to be honest. And I learned about van life from watching YouTube videos, doing research on Google, and reading caravan magazines, which I found to be quite helpful. And I noticed that Bob Wow's YouTube channel, which is called Cheap RV Living, I found that his videos were the most helpful and the most informative. So check out his YouTube channel and his videos. And then when I got my van, I noticed that experience was a whole different ball game. And you will find that experience is the best teacher. It really is, and you will learn so much just from experience itself. So, when about van life, watch a lot of van life videos, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And don't just watch one or two van life channels. Watch heaps and heaps and heaps of different van life channels, because people do van life differently. There's so many different ways on how you can do van life. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do van life. There's just different. And the thing is, you need to figure out and you need to find out what works for you. Like, for example, when you're learning about how to stay warm in your van when it's cold. Like some people prefer to have a wood stove or a fireplace in their van to stay warm, while someone else will prefer to use a Mr. Body heater. And someone else might prefer to use a 12-volt car heater. And when I stay warm in my van, most of the time I prefer to use my 12-volt car heater, as well as my USB hand warmers, which are great. And although I do have a Mr. Body heater, I don't use it in my van because of safety reasons. And there are so many things to learn about van life, including how to do a van build, how to find a good mechanic, and how to stealth camp, etc., etc. Like, for example, when I first started van life back in 2017, I started van life because I had to. It was a survival thing for me, just like for many other people. At that point in time, I had just left my abusive ex-husband after being in a violent marriage for 22 years. He forced me to leave for safety reasons, and I wanted to live. I didn't want to die, so I had to leave. And I wasn't working. I had no money, nothing. All I had was the clothes on my back. So the only place I could go to was back home to my parents' house. And I couldn't stay there for long because of my older brother who lives there. And he wouldn't stop sexually harassing me. So the only option I had was to move into my car. I mean, I couldn't afford to, rent an apartment by myself. So, you have to do whatever you can do just to survive, So that's what I did. So that's why I moved into my car. And so therefore I had to stealth camp in my car. So it's a good idea to ask yourself some questions like, why do I want to start van life? Am I going to do van life full-time or part-time? Where are you going to go? Do you want a permanent bed in your van? Do you need a kitchen in your van? Etc., etc. And the answers to these questions is going to be your starting point and will head you in the right direction. Like, for example, it was important to me, that my van was big enough and roomy enough to live in, but at the same time, I wanted to be able to park my van in a normal car park. And I wanted a permanent bed in my van because I didn't want to turn the dinette into a bed all the time. And it was also important to me to have a little kitchenette and a little dinette as well. So once you know the answers to those questions, you can take it from there. Like, for example, if you have a tight budget, you'll most probably be looking for a second-hand van. And there are a lot of good quality second-hand vans out there, but you do have to look around. And it may take you a while before you find the right van for you. And it's really, really important that you do take a mechanic with you when you go to inspect a van. Then that way he can tell you whether you should buy that van or not. Or maybe you have the money and the finance to buy a brand new van that's already been converted, or a motorhome. And there are a lot of companies out there who sell brand new motorhomes and converted vans. So do your research and get onto Google and find out a company that sells new vans and motorhomes who's near you. And if you're going to do a van build yourself, you're going to have to do as much research as you can, so you can Google, how to convert a van, how to build a van. When I built my van myself, I did my van build all by myself, and I did not know anything about converting vans. And I learned from watching YouTube videos again. I found that Bob Wells videos about how to convert a van, how to live in a van, how to stealth camp in a van, etc., etc., to be the most helpful. And again, it's going to come back to experience, and make sure you give yourself plenty of time, because it's going to take a really long time to do a van build, especially if you're doing it by yourself. And you could ask a friend to help you with your van build if you want to. And another good idea is to, when you're doing a van build, is to buy second-hand furniture from thrift stores for your van build. And by doing that, that will save you a lot of money. And most of the materials that I got from my van build was second-hand furniture from thrift stores, and that saved me a lot of money. And then also the size of your van is going to determine what kind of van build that you will need. Like, for example, if you have a minivan or an SUV, a good idea for that van build is to have on one side of your van along this lengthways is to have your bed, which will also be your couch. And you can use underneath your bed is where you can put storage containers and store your clothes and kitchenware and other things in. And on the other side of the van, along lengthwise, again, you can have your little kitchenette and a little table and more storage containers. Whereas with my van is a 2005 Kia Pagero van, which is quite big. It's actually a medium-sized van, and that's why they're so popular, especially in South America, because they're so big and they're so reliable, but they're also cheap. So therefore, if you're tight on budget and if you're looking for a reliable van that's quite big, maybe a Kia Pagero van might be the type of van for you, and you can just convert it into a tiny home like I did. Like, for example, when I first got my van, I had shelves, which I'll give you a look. Just turn you around like this. So as you can see, I've got shelves on both sides of my bed, and I've got a permanent single bed in the middle. Now those shelves were already in my van when I first got it. So what I did is I left those shelves in here. I'll just turn you back around here. So I left those shelves in the van because I knew I would need them, and I decided to do the van build around those shelving. So that's why I thought, okay, the back can be the bedroom, and I'll put the bed in the middle. And then, as you can see, we have the cab here, and along here we have the couch. And then along the side here, I have my kitchenette. Let me show you. So along the side here, I've got my kitchenette, sink, vanity table, some more shelves, fridge, water. And so this setup, this type of van build suits me. So you're going to need to do a type of van build that's going to suit you as well as your van. So if you, like this setup in my van, this van build wouldn't suit a minivan or an SUV. But it suits a larger van, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying? And another idea you can do is you could just do a non-build if you want to. Especially if you have to move into your van or vehicle, whatever type of vehicle you have, whether it be a van, SUV, minivan, truck camper, whatever. Box van, you name it, or even a bus, because, for example, if you have to, like if you're being evicted and you can't find any other affordable housing, there's no other affordable housing available, okay, and you have a certain date before you have to hand in those keys to your landlord, then I suggest you just start off with doing a non-build. You can always upgrade to a full build later on if you want to. And again, watch YouTube videos and do research about how to do a non-build in your van. So if you're going to be doing a non-build in your van, you're going to need like a portable bed. You can even just put a mattress on the floor if you want to. That's how I started out in my van, by just having a mattress on the floor. You can do that too if you want to. But you're going to need something like a folding bed, a mattress, bedding, sleeping bag, pillow, all that sort of stuff. You're going to want to have plastic storage containers to store your clothes in, your kitchenware and other things. And You're going to need to have like a water container with a dispenser like that. And the USB water dispensers are really good. So there's many different ways that you can do a van build. Again, you just need to figure out what's going to work for you, because what may work for you may not work for someone else, and vice versa. Okay, so if you're going to be stealth camping in your van, again, it's important to do your research and Google how to stealth camp in your van. You can watch my video, which is called How to Stealth Camp in Your Van, for some ideas, and watch other van life channels to find out how they stealth camp in their vans. So what I do is that I have a notepad just for stealth camping. And I write down everywhere where I've parked, the date, the time. And I also use that same notepad for planning where I'm going to park in the near future. Then that way I can stay organised. And then that way I will know when I can rotate back to that same spot again. So if you're going to be stealth camping, it's a good idea to have a notepad just for that. And I use Google Maps to help me find somewhere to park for the evening. And Google Maps is a great way to find somewhere to park. So I recommend Google Maps. And what you do is, when you do find somewhere to park for the evening, always arrive late in the evening and leave early in the morning. Always be quiet. Don't do anything to draw attention to yourself. And of course, leave no trace. Always keep all of your doors locked at all times, even when you're in your vehicle, even during the daytime. Always keep all of your doors locked at all times, which is most important. And of course, use your window covers so that nobody can see into your van. Especially at night time, you want to make sure that they're up properly so that nobody can see the light from inside of your van. So if you follow those few stealth camping rules, you should be fine. And don't forget, don't park in the same place twice. And if you're going to be stealth camping in your van, it's a good idea to make sure that your van is stealthy. Like, for example, a plain white van or a plain yellow van. You can also get magnetic car signs that has a company logo on it, which is also another good idea. And that will also make your van look stealthy, because they can make your van look like a maintenance van. And that's what you want, because you don't want anyone to be thinking that, there's anyone living inside that van. And the thing that I like about magnetic car signs is that you can take them on and off your van whenever you want to or need to. And that means having a stealthy van also means, like I said, there's no right or wrong way how to do van life. It just depends on what you prefer. It all comes back to your preference. And So my preference is that I don't want to have any solar panels on my roof. I prefer to use portable solar panels because once you have solar panels on your roof, your van's not really going to be stealthy anymore because people will know, especially the police, will know that there's someone sleeping in that vehicle because you've got solar panels on your roof. That's why I prefer to use portable solar panels. So you want to know how to live in your van, how to stealth camp in your van. You know, how to shower, how to get water, how to go to the toilet, etc., etc. So, researching about various aspects about van life is wise. So where are you going to go to the toilet? Well, there are a lot of different options available. Like, for example, in my van, I have a 30-foot porta potty toilet in my van. And because I have the larger tank, that means that I can stealth camp in my van for longer before I have to empty and clean the toilet, which I find to be more convenient. You know, some people prefer to use a folding toilet or a compost toilet or a chemical toilet. There's so many options available on the market. There's something to suit everyone. But I suggest you have some kind of portable toilet in your van, whether it be a folding toilet, a chemical toilet, or a compost toilet, or whatever. Okay, so how are you going to stay warm in your van? Well, I think it's a good idea and important to layer your clothing as well as layer your bedding. You know, you'll need some kind of heater, whether it be a gas heater, a wood stove, or a fireplace, or an electrical heater. Like I said, I prefer to use my 12-volt car heater in my van. And I don't like to use my Mr. Batty heater in my van because of safety reasons, even though I can. But that's just my preference. I know a lot of other people who use Mr. Batty heaters in their vans too, and they're fine. But when you're using a gas heater like a Mr. Batty heater or another type of gas heater, it's most important that you use safety precautions and have plenty of ventilation. And don't forget to have a carbon monoxide detector in your van because that is most important. You know, other ways that you can stay warm is like, for example, I love the USB hand warmers. They're great. They really are. You can also get USB socks, USB heated gloves and scarves. You know, when it's really cold in my van, I always wear like a woolen scarf and beanie. You know, and woolen gloves. I like the ones where you got the fingers cut off. You know, even when I go to bed, you know, I wear them to bed with my fleece hoodie, which I wear to bed too when it's cold. You know, you can get like a 12-volt electric blanket or a USB electric blanket. And don't forget you'll need like a decent sleeping bag. And I haven't got this yet, but I'm going to get one for next winter, which is one of those heated jackets. And that's another great way to stay warm. There's so many different ways how you can stay warm in your van. Okay, so how are you going to shower in your van? Again, there are many different options available. Like for example, when I shower in my van, I've got a 12-volt portable shower, which I use with my folding bathtub. It's just a plastic folding bathtub. And I use my 12-volt hot water immersion stick to heat up the water for my shower or for my bath. And that's how I shower in my van. Sometimes I might just have a sponge bath to freshen up. It just depends on how I'm feeling at the time. But there's so many different portable showers on the market. Like I said, there's something to suit everyone. There's all different kinds of gadgets and all different prices. You can go have a look on Amazon, eBay, Temu, and other online shopping apps. You can get a 12-volt portable shower. You can get a shower with the foot pump. You can also use a solar shower. They're great too. I also have a solar shower in my van as well. And the thing that I like about solar showers is that you just put the water in there, into the shower bag. You sit it out in the sun, and the sun will heat up the water. So that's a great option for summer. But you can still use the solar showers for winter. And how you do that is what you do is you just heat up the water first, and then once you've heated up your water, then you just pour that into the shower, and then you've got a shower. So therefore, you can use a solar shower all year long if you want to. Even if there's no sun, just heat up the water beforehand and just fill it up in the shower bag. Simple as that. You could also use public showers like at a gym or a rest stop, for example. You can find a shower at a campsite, in caravan parks. There's so many options available. It just depends on your budget, what type of shower that you're looking for. But I prefer to shower in my van. I don't like to use public showers at a gym or at a rest stop, but there's nothing wrong with them. That's just my personal preference. I just prefer to shower in my van because I feel more comfortable being in my van. So, where are you going to get water for your van? Well, of course, once you move into your van, as you know, you're going to have to fill up the fresh water tank often, and you're going to have to empty the grey water tank often as well. And what I do is I buy my water from the supermarket, and I also get my water from taps. Now, as you know, I'm here in Melbourne, Australia, and I know where all the taps are. Not all of the taps, but I know where there are a lot of taps around Melbourne where I can get free water. Now, if you're going to get water from a tap, make sure that you are using a water filter, which is really, really important. If you're going to get water from a tap, and if you don't have a water filter, and if you're going to be using that water for drinking, then I suggest you boil that water beforehand, okay? You can get water from campsites, caravan parks, etc. Another thing that you need to be aware of is to make sure that your van is well maintained and serviced quite often, and that your van is insured and the registration and everything is up to date. So therefore, you want to have a good mechanic, a good reliable mechanic. And it took me a while before I found my current mechanic, which I made a video about him. If you want to check it out, it's called Mark Fleet's the best mechanic in town. Because it's most important that you have a good mechanic, because there are so many mechanics out there, who rip you off. They're sleazy. They don't do a good job. And like I said, it took me quite a while before I found my current mechanic. And I'm sticking with him too, because he's a really good mechanic. He doesn't rip you off. He's reliable. He always does a good job and is not a slave. So if you can find a really good mechanic, I suggest you do that. Okay, so where are you going to do the laundry when you're living in your van? Well, I know that most van lifers do their laundry at the laundromat, and occasionally I'll use the laundromat for my washing too. However, I do prefer to do my washing in my van, and I have two portable washing machines, and both of them have spin dryers too. So I've made two videos about this so far, so you can check them out. The first video, which is called I had to buy another manual washing machine for my van. So check out that video to see how I do the washing in my van. And my second video, which is called Guess What I Found, a 12-volt portable foldable washing machine from Kmart. So you can check out that video too to see how I also do the washing in my van. So I think it's a good idea that you have some sort of portable manual washing machine in your van, or a 12-volt portable foldable washing machine in your van. And I have both. And I prefer to use the 12-volt portable foldable washing machine in my van, because you don't have a lot of space in your van. Because you're limited on space, you can't have a lot of things in your van. And that's why it's a good idea to use things that are fold down, like the folding washing machine, the folding bowls, etc. Because they're great for van life, and they're so handy too, because my portable washing machine folds down flat. And when I'm not using it, I just store it underneath the bed. It takes up hardly any space in my van. But when I need to do the washing, I just pull it out, When I unfold, I can't believe how big it becomes and how much washing I can actually wash in my van as well as spin dry. And oh my God, it is great. And because it's 12 volt, it hardly uses any power. And so, I mean, I think it's a really good idea to have a washing machine in your van, because there might be times, like especially if you're going to be boondocking somewhere, and there might be times when you need to do your washing and you can't get to a laundromat. That's why it's a good idea to have some sort of portable washing machine in your van. And speaking of having limited space in your van, you're going to need to have the things in your van that you're going to use, because you will learn and you will see that you'll be quite comfortable and quite happy with just having the things that you need in your van. Like for example, there's only me in my van, so therefore I only have one plate, one bowl, one fork, one spoon, one cup. So depending on how many people are in the vehicle, like for example, if you're a family of 4 and you're living in a motorhome, well, in that case you're going to need to have like 4 plates, 4 cups, 4 bowls, 4 spoons, etc. 1 per person. Because what's the point of having a whole, set of cookery when you don't need it? All you're just going to be doing is wasting space. And when you're in the van, because it's limited space, you don't want to be wasting that space. And that's why I have a capsule wardrobe in my van, because I love clothes. I love my clothes, and I like to wear a different outfit every day. I'm a real girly type of chick, and there's no way that I could fit my big wardrobe in my apartment into my van. But I still want to look good at the same time. That's why I only have a capsule wardrobe in my van, where I mix and match my outfit. So when I'm in my van, I just have a few pair of pants, a few tops, a few jumpers, 1 cardigan, 1 coat. I only have a couple of pairs of shoes. So if you're like me and you love to have a whole heap of clothes and look good, you can still look good during your van life. But you can't have a whole big wardrobe in your van. So you're going to need to just have a capsule wardrobe of clothes in your van where you can mix and match your outfits. Okay, can you have pets in your van? Yes, of course you can. A lot of van lifers have fur babies in their van, including me. If you could say, there's Kelly there. I mean, I have my kitty Kelly in my van. She loves to travel with me in my van. And I think pets are great for van life. They really are. Whether you have a cat or dog. I've seen a couple of people with pet rabbits in their van. And I've seen one chick who has a pet snake in her van, believe it or not. You can have all sorts of pets in your van. But if you're going to have a pet in your van, it's most important that they have enough food and water at all times, that they have their own bed and bedding, they have their own space just to be, as well as some toys to play with. And it's most important that, they are comfortable at all times, especially when it gets hot in the van. So therefore you're going to need to have the air conditioner on, to make sure that your fur babies are comfortable and cool in your van. And the same goes for winter. When it's cold, make sure that they're nice and warm too. Like when it's really cold in wintertime, maybe it's a good idea to get your pets a pet jacket. That's another good option. You can get them little socks. You can get little cats and dog socks, which are really cute. But yes, pets are great for van life, but make sure you look after them. Make sure that they are always comfortable. And I think it's also a good idea to have a pet camera in your van so you can keep an eye on them, like when you're in the grocery store and you're doing the shopping or whatever, and they're in the van, you can still keep an eye on them via your phone. Okay, so is van life safe? Yes, van life is quite safe, especially if you're a solo female van lifer like me. I've been doing van life for a few years now, and I have not experienced an incident yet where I have not been safe, and let's hope it stays that way. But having said that, look, of course anything can happen anytime, anywhere. That's why it's always important to use common sense and have some sort of protection, whether it be something like pepper spray or bear spray, for example. There's many different options. Again, it's important to do your research. And like I said earlier, always keep all of your doors locked at all times, even during the daytime when you're in your van. Always keep all of your doors locked. And I think it's a great idea to have security cameras on your van. And I don't have any proper security cameras on my van yet, but when I do get the money, I am going to get them installed. Another idea that you can do is that if you want to use security cameras in your van, and you don't have the money to get proper security cameras installed in your van, well, what you can do in the meantime is use a small action camera as a security camera, like for example, like a GoPro. You can also use your dash cam and your road cam as well. Like for example, you can get like a few different GoPros or any other kind of action camera, and you have one on your dashboard and have one towards the back of your van, and you can also have like another one up here facing outside the window here. And so you can use GoPros and other action cameras as security cameras for your van. So there's another idea too. And I think one of the most important things when it comes to safety wise is to always listen to your intuition. And I mean, because your intuition is always right. I mean, your intuition is there to protect you, so it's not going to lie to you, is it? No, it's not. So if you park somewhere for the evening and you arrive at your park up, and suddenly you get this bad gut feeling, you know, always listen to your intuition, and if that happens, just leave straight away and go park somewhere else. That's what I do. I always listen to my intuition, and I mean, I didn't always listen to my intuition when I was younger, but I do now because I learned the hard way. And I made a video about this, so if you watch my video called "This is Why You Must Listen to Your Intuition," that will show you exactly why you must listen to your intuition. And so check out that video because it's really important, because it's really, really important that you do listen to your intuition. So if you park somewhere, whether it be nighttime, daytime, wherever, whatever, and if you get that funny feeling, just leave there immediately and go park somewhere else. And that's really important, because my motto is prevention is better than cure, and it's also cheaper too. Because if you prevent something from happening, you're also preventing costs that may materialize as well. Like, for example, doctor's fees, medication, ambulance fees, etc., etc. And so therefore, always listen to your intuition. So if you go somewhere and if your intuition says, "Oh, don't park here," well, it's simple. Don't park there. Leave ASAP and go somewhere else. And never tell anyone where you are. The only person who you're going to tell where you are will either be your trusted friend or a family member. And that one person will always know where every location where you will be. Because it's important to have someone who's a trusted friend or someone in your family where you can send them a text message and say, "Oh, look, I'm going to be parking here today, and then I'm going to be parking here tonight, and then I'm going to this place tomorrow." You know, so that one person must always know where you always are at all times, because if something happens, at least someone will know where you are. But you don't tell anyone else where you're going. You never tell anyone your location, and never tell anyone that you're traveling alone, especially if you're a solo female van lifer, you know. And if you're going to be free camping or camping at a paid campsite, for example, you know, there's lots of different things that you can do that will create an illusion that you're not alone and that you have a male companion with you. Like, for example, I'm going to get a pair of my son's old work boots just to carry in my van. So for when I go free camping, or if I go camping at a paid campground. So what I do is I will leave his boots outside of my van door here, and that will create an optical illusion that there's a male with me, because people don't know if I'm by myself or not, do they? And you want to do whatever you can, to protect yourself in whatever ways that you can. And by deterring, what's the word I'm looking for? By deterring a would-be thief or a would-be attacker, by having a pair of men boots outside your door, is a good way to prevent something bad from happening. For example, you could be camping at a campsite somewhere, and the next campsite, there could be this guy, and he could be watching you and staring at you, and you don't know if he's a serial killer or a rapist or whatever. And so by me having a pair of my son's boots outside my door, he's going to think, oh no, I'm not going to go and attack her because she's got a male companion with her. You see what I mean? So there's all sorts of things and all sorts of ways that you can do to prevent things from happening, just by making things look a certain way. So again, do your research and find out ways on how I can stay safe in my van. And like I said, watch as many van life videos as you can from so many different van life channels, because everyone does things differently, and the more information that you know about van life, the better off you'll be. Okay, so you're going to need lots of chargers. You're going to need some power station, solar panels, generator, fridge, freezer, or maybe a cooler. Just essentials. And if you're going to be buying a battery or something electrical like a fridge or a freezer or a power station or whatever, I suggest you buy them brand new and get a warranty. Now, I'm speaking from experience here, because a few years ago, stupid me, I went and bought a second-hand fridge for my van, and I thought I scored a great bargain. I'm thinking, because it's a really big size fridge, and I'm thinking I got it for less than half price, and oh my God, I was so happy with myself for buying this fridge. And I didn't even have it a week. About 6 days later, it stopped working. And I'm like, oh no. And so I learnt my lesson the hard way, not to buy something like that second hand. Because the reason why I bought it second hand was because I was trying to save money. However, I soon discovered that if I had bought the fridge brand new in the first place, it would have worked out cheaper for me in the long run. Because now I either have to pay to get the fridge fixed, or I buy a new one. You see what I mean? So what I'm doing at the moment is that I've turned my fridge into a cooler. So I'm using my fridge as a cooler in the meantime until I either get it fixed or buy a new one. And I'm not exactly sure at the moment which way I'm going to go yet. It depends on whatever is cheaper. So if it's cheaper for me to buy a brand new fridge than what it is to get the fridge fixed, then I'm going to go that way. So I learnt my lesson the hard way. So if you're going to buy anything that's really important, like a fridge, freezer, power station, etc., you are better off to buy it brand new with the warranty instead of buying it second hand. Okay, and another good idea, especially if you're going to be using Wi-Fi in your van and you'll be traveling to remote areas, you're going to need to have something like a Starlink or a Mini-Link or some type of Wi-Fi plan so you can get Wi-Fi in your van no matter where you are. And when I get the money, I want to invest in a mini Starlink. And like here in Australia, you can get like Telstra dongle. And if you get that, I'm not sure how much it is. I think it's about $114 or $120 a month. So you can have Wi-Fi in your van. So that's another option. But I mean, depending on, whatever your country is, wherever you're located, again, you're going to have to do your research and find out, what Wi-Fi plans are available in your country, and find something that suits you, because especially, if you're going to be like a digital nomad or a freelance writer or something who's traveling around, you're going to need to have Wi-Fi. So therefore you're going to need to have something that is reliable. We can get reliable Wi-Fi all the time. Okay, so I think it's also a good idea to have a jerry can or two in your van, so you can carry extra fuel. It doesn't matter what type of fuel your van takes, whether it's diesel, petrol, or whatever. Especially if you're going to be traveling in remote areas where, there's not a lot of petrol stations available. You're going to want to carry extra fuel because you don't want to run out of fuel and be stranded somewhere. So make sure you have at least one jerry can filled of extra fuel. And it's also a good idea to have an extra fresh water tank or two, because again, water is essential, because if you're out boondocking somewhere and if there's no water available, like if you're not near a river or somewhere like that,